This handsome cabinet of archive binders, encased in waxed, taupe-colored linen, embossed with stately gold letters, contains a treasury of paper ephemera from the life and work of our host, Ernest Thiel, banker, poet, translator, and patron of the arts. Among the materials preserved within these binders are plentiful handwritten letters, traces of Thiel's correspondence with artists, philosophers, composers, and political figures. In box number 1, there are about 19 letters from Swedish composer Hugo Alfvén, who set a selection of Thiel's poems to music. The correspondence begins in 1908, the year Alfvén composed the first 7 of what would become a suite of 11 songs. Each letter is preserved in its own paper sleeve and delicately stamped with a black number. Alfvén's letters begin formally, in deference to Thiel's status as poet and patron. "Thanks to you, I am composing my best songs," he writes on August 27th, also admitting that, "Every time I grasped a pen, the thought kept buzzing incessantly, like a poisonous fly around my ears, that you might suppose I had set your poems to music with the aim of gaining some material advantage, and this rendered it impossible to write." On one hand, these first letters focus on Alfvén's creative process as he composes the 7 songs. He writes about the shifting moods his compositions inspire when transposed to different key signatures. He shares modifications he is making to the songs, a decision to add a postlude to one song, for example, details on how the use of the piano pedal is key to creating certain orchestral effects in another. In a letter from November 2nd, he writes that in one piece, "The tune is admittedly hard to play, since it demands a pianist who is both hot-blooded and nimble-fisted, one who can bring the passage work to froth like purple waves." My goodness, perhaps it was that passage from Djupt hos freeborna människor bor, deep in the freeborn human soul, the first of the 7 songs, that Alfvén was referring to in his letter. But these letters are not simply a portrait of Alfvén's artistic mind, for the exuberance of his creative commentary is tempered by long passages about his financial and professional woes. Indeed, the sentence that follows Alfvén's description of frothing purple waves exclaims, "My purse, alas, I go cross-eyed when forced to look in that direction." In other letters, he writes of the impossibility of existing as a composer and the bitter life experience he constantly endures. Alfvén's letters thus serve as a portrait of the artist's eternal struggle for recognition and material resources. It seems Thiel sought to remedy this imbalance, not only through his patronage of composers, artists, and philosophers, but through what appear to be deep, nuanced friendships with the creators he was passionate about, and through his own poetic contribution to the culture of his times. Only one side of this correspondence is held in box number 1. For Thiel's letters, sent out from this very address to Hugo Alfvén, and his many other correspondents, among them Elisabeth Förster-Nietzsche, Edvard Munch, and August Strindberg, are now spread out across Sweden, in Oslo and Weimar and Berlin and Paris. Thiel's part in the correspondence is therefore only implied. For example, there is a silent interval between Alfvén's August 27th letter detailing his personal financial crisis and a note he wrote 1 week later, on September 3rd. I thank you heartily for your warm message. Sometimes that is worth more than money. We are left to fill in the blank of Thiel's words and deeds in the interlude between these two letters. The house, too, is but an inference of what was once here in the home of our now absent host. Various elements of Thiel's domestic space have been changed over the years to create Thielska Gallery. The artworks and furniture have been moved from their original arrangements, for museums have their own concerns and goals and styles that evolve over time. Historical photographs of the exhibition space upstairs, for example, show that Thiel packed these rooms with artworks, filling the walls top to bottom in the salon style of hanging that was typical of the era. Now the artworks have been spread out across what was once Thiel's writing room, his private chambers, and other domestic spaces. Even this room, which now serves as the archive, is believed to have once been the wardrobe of Thiel's second wife, Signe. And so your spectatorship moves through a space that mixes historical evidence with curatorial styling, a museological scenography with which to synthesize information from conflicting periods and impulses. The museum is a stage, a grand production that tells of love and loss, of passionate friendships and philosophical contemplation, of society glamour, of fortunes won and lost. But above all, the museum recounts the story of Thiel's love affair with art, with the artistic spirit and the artworks themselves. My voice will be your guide as you navigate Thiel's world, as well as the voice of museum director Patrick Steorn, artist Gunilla Josefsson, and the voice of baritone Mattias Nilsson, who will sing passages of Alfvén's 7 songs from 1908. Anna Kristensson will accompany our voices on piano, and Martin Lisola will lend his violin to the staging of this series of encounters with the collection. There is another voice, too. It is the voice of the house who has witnessed everything that has taken place here since Thiel had it designed and built at the turn of the 19th century. As the curtain goes up on the theatre of Thielska Gallery, and I attempt to narrate and animate the artworks it has sheltered for over 100 years, you will hear the house's voice. It makes itself heard in the creaking of the piano, in the wind through the trees of the garden. Its voice breathes through the holes of the ornamental vents in the walls. The voice of the house intervenes. Listen to its whisper. Is my interpretation welcome? I am listening, but I cannot tell if it is saying yes or no.